girls. My mom was a single mother of 8, and I grew up around girls. My mom was a single mother of 8, and all my sisters were older than me. I was the baby. But I was also the cause of my sister's envy. Because I was the only boy, my mother doted on me. She named me Prince, and she lavished me with gifts and love and care. And my sisters resented me for it. Every Christmas, I got a lot of toys. Mom treated me like her little star. She would boast about me to her friends, and every chance she got, she would make me sing in front of her friends at family parties, and whenever she would take me to her workplace. She was so proud to have a child who had talent, when all my other siblings did was spend her money and shop for clothes. And although I understand that it wasn't right that Mom played favorites, I also don't think it was a good reason for what my sisters did to me. She had always wanted to be a singer, but once she got married, she had to give up her career. My sisters were never good at music, and that had always disappointed her, especially because my sisters weren't interested in learning how to sing at all. But I loved it. My earliest memory was of Mom singing me a lullaby, and the moment I could talk, I began to sing. From that moment on, my sisters began to make my life a living nightmare. At school, they pretended like they didn't know me. They would humiliate me to my classmates by telling embarrassing stories that only they knew, and they made sure none of the girls were interested in me. Every time I tried to talk to a girl I liked, they would swarm her and take her away. They would all tell her lies about me, and the very next day, that girl would not want to be anywhere near me. At home, they blamed me for everything that went wrong. They made sure Mom didn't have any more reasons to like me over them. One night, they went out without Mom's permission to a party. I begged them to take me. Are you kidding? You at one of our parties? They're gonna laugh at us! You don't belong in our space. Do you know how popular we are? Oh, it'd be too embarrassing. They'll say we hang out with dorks. My other sisters agreed, and they left without me. That night, they woke me up, panicked. Marina grabbed my arm, and they all dragged me down to the garage in the middle of the night. And I saw why. Mom's car was scratched up pretty bad. It turned out they took it without asking her, and none of them really knew how to drive. You have to help us! You have to fix it! How am I supposed to fix that? I don't know. Aren't you supposed to be a genius? Figure it out. I can't fix everything. It's your fault for taking the car out. Actually, no. It's your fault. At least, that's what you'll tell Mom in the morning. What? If you really want us to let you hang out with us, you should tell Mom you went to that party. And it was your idea to take the car. Maybe we'll even introduce you to Haley. I know you have a crush on her. And if you do this, we won't get in the way. Despite my better judgment, I did as they asked. I guess I really just wanted to be friends with my sisters. I wanted them to accept me. So when Mom found out the next morning, I fessed up to something I didn't do. I thought my sisters would be right. I thought Mom would brush it off like she usually did because it was me. But it was the first and only time I saw Mom really mad at me. She didn't shout. She didn't scold me. She just fell silent. The look of disappointment in her eyes was more than enough to tell me what she thought. She didn't speak to me at all. But before I could even think that she would eventually forgive me, my sisters blamed me again for another thing they did. They stole Mom's jewelry and pawned them so they could go shopping. And they made sure to buy me some stuff too, so they had evidence that I was the kingpin. Mom finally broke. The car was Dad's first gift to her, and among the rings and necklaces they sold was something Mom cherished very much. It was a ring he gave her for their anniversary. And when my sisters convinced her that I was the thief, she couldn't bear the betrayal she thought I did to her. She didn't leave her room. She just told my sisters to pack my bags and throw me out. And they did so with joy, because finally they were able to get rid of the favorite. Finally, They would be the stars, and not me. I wanted to tell Mom what really happened. I wanted to tell her the truth, but she didn't want to see me. And my sisters pushed me until I was out of the house. Good riddance. And don't you try and come back. So much for being the favorite. Now you're the prodigal son. The whole point of the prodigal son is that he returns in the end. Ha! We'll see about that. They threw me out on the street. I was alone and cold and didn't know what to do. I would sing in the park or the subway, but people were mean and rude. They would make fun of me, and even when they complimented my voice, they never bothered to leave a tip. I starved, so I stole. I stole from bakeries, from fruit stalls, and from delis. I'm not proud of it, but I did what I could to survive. Until one day I saw a pair of ladies lunching at a cafe. One of them was having pasta and the other some sort of frittata. I heard my stomach grumble. In the middle of their lunch, they both stood up and went inside. I saw my opportunity. I ran to their table and grabbed the frittata with one hand and dug the other hand into the pasta. I gobbled it all down, and then I saw that they'd left their purses unattended. I was going to grab them and run when a hand gently took hold of my arm and turned me around. Now, you can eat from our table, but please don't take our belongings. Come, sit with us. Would you like something to eat? Layla and Lola were the nicest people I've met. Instead of turning me in, instead of being mad, they helped me. They fed me, and they talked to me. They asked me about my story, and I told them what happened. And by the end of it, they offered to let me stay in their house. Of course, I said yes. I was expecting a regular home and a normal room. But when they took me to their house, I realized they weren't just rich. They were billionaires. There were at least 10 cars in their garage. They had a butler and 20 maids. There were paintings from Van Gogh to Picasso to Banksy lining their walls. And the room they gave me had windows from floor to ceiling and a walk-in closet bigger than my old living room. Layla and Lola took me out often, and they introduced me to everyone as their boyfriend. And I would always blush, 'cause who wouldn't when two very beautiful women flirt with you so openly? They both supported my dreams. They sent me to singing lessons with the best teachers in the state. And then, a year later, they introduced me to a music producer. I worked long and hard to record my own music. And yet, another year later, my album was released. Waiting for news was horrible. I could hardly sleep. They told me not to expect anything, and I was fully ready to be a flop. And the sales were bad for the first few days. By the third day, my album had sold only 125 copies. And I'm pretty sure most of them were Layla and Lola themselves. I was already about to accept that music was not for me, when the women came running to me with excited looks on their faces. Oh my god! Open your TikTok! What? Why? Just open TikTok now! You'll see! I scrolled through at least 3 videos until I realized what they meant. My song had been made into a sound, and every TikTok after that was using clips from my album. I had gone viral, and everyone wanted more. I checked on the sales and number of streams, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It had all exploded overnight. My phone rang, and when I answered, my producer was screaming in excitement. He was congratulating me and talking about how he can finally go to Ibiza for a well-deserved week of partying. He even invited me, but I had to decline. I wanted to make sure I did something to thank Layla and Lola for everything. For adopting me. For making my dreams a reality. Next morning, I had to go on live TV. There were endless interviews and invites to go to celebrity parties, and in a few months, I won the award for Best New Artist. It was all a whirlwind of amazingness that it felt unreal. I felt like I was in a waking dream, and I couldn't have achieved any of it if not for 3 women. Lola, Layla, and of course, My mother. So, after winning it all, I paid them a visit. My mom had found out the truth, but by then my sisters had trashed her credit score and she had no other choice but to live with them and let them support her. They were all in so much debt and were struggling that the house had been put up for sale. I bought it immediately, and I gave the keys to my mom. On one condition: that my sisters never be allowed to step foot there ever again. They had to make their own way and stop using Mom to get what they wanted. A few weeks later, I realized what my sisters were doing for a job. They were tagging themselves in my posts and making sure everyone knew they were my sisters. They sold stories about me to tabloids and got a decent social media following because of that. I decided not to let them make money off of me, so I sent out a statement saying they were frauds and that I was not related to them at all, just like they did to me back in school. And everyone believed me. Their sponsorships dropped them, and they lost all their followers. And now I hear they've formed a band and are singing at the subway. They've been dubbed the worst band in town.